My name's Steve Weintraub. I'm editor-in-chief of Collider. Let me introduce some panelists. Up first, we have three producers. Up first, we have Simon Kinberg. And then we have Andrew Forum and Brad Fuller. I don't know if the name tags are right. We'll find that out.
Hi there.
Oh yeah, by the way, if you see me go like this, it just means get closer to the mic or further away. How's everyone doing today?
How's that?
So if you are curious about what a producer does and the behind the scenes of being a producer, you are in the right place. So I'm going to start with, this is a question for all you guys. You receive a great script tomorrow, but it has no director, no cast, no financing, and several sequences that appear impossible to shoot. What is the first move each of you makes?
Well, I think the only way to evaluate it is to choose a director. The director, because when you talk about impossible sequences to shoot, that's going to be the director's job. So the first thing that I would do, and Drew would probably do this with me, I don't know what Simon would do.
First thing you would do is ask me what I thought of the script.
That's what I would ask.
Yeah.
And then we would talk about who would be the right person to direct the movie.
Yeah, I think I would do the same thing. I don't know what is left that would be impossible to shoot, though.
Good.
Like, I actually think I think we're living in a world, both in terms of the ability of people to shoot things practically that at the beginnings of our careers would never have been imagined possible, and then obviously all the CGI stuff that's possible now. I think it's just how much will it cost? And I would do the same thing. You go to the director first, also because that's how you get the cast. No matter how good the script is, they're going to say who's directing it. So I think as you start to build the package and the reality of the movie, you start with the filmmaker.
Can everyone hear Simon, or does the mic needs to get closer?
I can be closer to the mic.
Yeah, I just want to make sure.
Okay.
So I am curious, how different is the industry today compared to the industry you three entered?
Totally different. It's totally different. When Drew and I started, there was no streaming. You could go to a Blockbuster and look for movies.
DVD was very big when we started.
Yes. So there are more places to sell your movies, but there are less ways to get a theatrical movie made.
Yeah, I mean, we all started around the same time, and we've known each other a long time. I mean, Drew and I were just backstage, and he was asking me about my eldest son, who's 21, and Drew was at his first birthday party. So as much as my son has changed, I would say the industry might have changed more. I think the kinds of movies that are made have changed drastically as well, and we three are lucky enough to have made a bunch of franchise movies and work in genre, which is what this convention's all about, and those are the kinds of movies that are being made by studios, with obviously some extraordinary exceptions recently. And when we started, the mid-size adult drama still existed. The romantic comedy still existed in movie theaters. The comedy still existed in movie theaters. Whole genres have been largely wiped out of the theaters in the last couple of decades.
Yeah, and I think the big question we all get now is the movie theatrical? And what does that even mean? And that is the question that we have to answer every time we read a screenplay if we're bringing it to a studio and trying to build the movie knowing we'd like it to be seen in movie theaters. And that was not around when we all started.
Yeah.
Every movie to us was theatrical.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I think a lot of people are curious, myself included, is what is it actually like to pitch a studio head or studio heads? Like when you're going in, are you meeting with like one or two people? Is it a boardroom of 8 people? Is it marketing and the studio heads? Like, how does it actually work behind the scenes?
Well, there's different stages of pitching. So we can say stage 1 when you have an idea, and you can go in and just try to sell an idea to a studio, or maybe it's just a screenplay. And then you slowly are moving the ball down the field to the point of going to a greenlight where we've all been in a room where you have the entire marketing department. Everyone, there's 40, 50 people in the room, and the filmmaker is in front of everybody with images pitching what the movie can look like or what it will look like, trying to get the movie to the start of production.
Yeah, I mean, that's what it's like now. When the first time I ever pitched to a studio head was about 20 years ago. And I came out to LA in my early 20s, had a pitch with a producer, and we went to go pitch it to Scott Stuber, who was the sort of head of Universal at the time. And I had never pitched to anybody in my life. This is not a story that's instructive. It's only maybe will help you if you're ever in this position and you feel as awful as I did. I woke up in the morning and I was so scared I called the producer, and I was like, no text. And I called the producer and I was like, I'm sick, I'm ill, we can't do it today. And the producer was like, get your ass in a car and get here. I got there, I was like, I gotta go to the bathroom, I gotta go, just give me a second. I went to the bathroom, I vomited because I was so nervous. I then went and pitched Scott Stuber, having just vomited and having not slept at all the night before. And he passed, obviously, but it was not the last time I pitched him. So it's pretty stressful no matter what, I would say. And when you really care, it's even more stressful.
Does he know that?
Yeah.
You told him the story?
Yeah. And I've pitched him since and
No vomit?
No vomiting anymore.
Good.
What is the single greatest script or project that slipped through your fingers, the one that got away, or the one you fought tooth and nail for that the studio just wouldn't greenlight?
Wouldn't greenlight. Did we read Saw before it got made?
Oh, well.
We saw the short.
We saw the short.
Yeah.
I mean,
A little closer to that.
Drew and I saw the short to Saw. And I think we were very interested in that.
And we missed it.
And we missed it.
Yeah.
And that hurts.
Yeah.
Still hurts. So.
That one for me is a fresh wound, which is Project Hail Mary.
Oh. It hurts me
Thank
too.
you.
Wait,
Wow.
wait.
It's great therapy.
But what happened?
So I produced The Martian, and thank
Look
you
at
for
that.
that too. This is very healing.
Very warm room.
Yeah, it's very healing process. Andy Weir wrote The Martian. Andy Weir wrote Project Hail Mary. I read the manuscript, as did 50 other producers, to Project Hail Mary, and I was given. What happened? This is actually maybe instructive or informative. I was given a handful of studios that I would be able to take the book into. It was like 5 studios, and a couple other producers were given other studios. And Amy Pascal, who produced Project Hail Mary, the movie, was given Amazon MGM. And Amy's an extraordinary producer. She's also my next door neighbor. She's an extraordinary person. I love her. I hated her at the time. And so MGM won, and they got the rights, and Amy was attached to it. The irony is the people that, among others, were bidding on my behalf were Netflix and Warner Brothers. Netflix was run by Scott Stuber in that moment 5 years ago. Warner Brothers was run by a bunch of people, but Courtney Valente, who was an executive at Warner Brothers, was the champion for me at Warner's. A guy named Michael DeLuca was running Amazon MGM, who bought the movie. By the time the movie came out, Mike DeLuca was now running Warner Brothers. The woman, Courtney Valente, who was at Warner Brothers, was now running Amazon. They released the movie, and Scott Stuber was somewhere in between where he kind of runs MGM. So, none of that made sense, but sadly, I knew that movie, when I read the book, would be extraordinary. It was even better than I anticipated, but it was a fantastic book.
When did you actually see the movie? I mean, was it hard for you to go see it?
Yeah, it was.
I'm not trying to rub salt on the wound.
No, this is my therapist would be really happy with this. I kept asking people about it who had seen it before it was released, being like, is it as good as The Martian? Is it better than The Martian? And they were like, it's different than The Martian, which is real. It's like when you're like, is the guy she's dating my ex-girlfriend, is he taller than me? Is he, And they're like, he's different than you. And I'm like, oh. I saw it and I loved it. I saw it opening weekend because a bunch of people had seen it before, and I went by myself. And honestly, I loved the book so much, and I love all the people involved in making the movie. I really mean that I was just happy that they had done the book justice and made a beautiful movie. And I also think it's different than the movie I had imagined. So I also felt like they took it and made their version of something that I had loved.
Nice.
That is a fresh wound. I'm sorry.
It's cool. I definitely was like, do you think it's going to win Best Picture? And people were like, maybe. I was like, oh, I can't. A bunch of fucking Oscars. Then Odyssey came out, and I was like, oh, thank God.
I was going to be like, Project Hail Mary is definitely getting nominated for Best Picture.
That's fine. That's fine. I'm okay. Martian.
Simon's been through that before.
Yeah. Winning would have been tough.
When people see producer in the credits, what do they usually misunderstand about what you actually do?
That we put money up for the movies.
Yes.
But people often ask me, how much money did you have to put up for that movie?
So funny.
And we've never had to do that.
Yeah. Same.
Yeah.
Same. There must have been a moment in time when producers did do that. I also think it's so hard because being a producer is maybe more than any other role in our business so amorphous.
Right.
It can mean so many different things in terms of what you actually contributed to the movie. And so that's the other misconception is people think that there is a specific job that producers
Right.
do, like costume design or production, and it's so vague and can
Yes.
mean so many things.
So we have a video question it's the only video question for this panel. It's from producer Kelly McCormick. If we could play that now.
Hey Comic-Con, it's Kelly McCormick. I'm on the set of Jason Statham Stole My Bike here in London. Sorry I can't be with you guys today. Hey producers, I have a question for you guys. There's always a challenging day on set. Give us a story of one of yours and how you ended up finding your way out of it. Thanks guys, good to see you, bye.
By the way, I just want to point out that she's producing Jason Statham Stole My Bike, which is easily the best title of 2027.
It sure.
I will also say she is my former manager from 20 years ago.
That is crazy.
A hard day that we pulled ourselves out of. We've all had hard days.
Well, Drew has one if you need some time.
Do it. Go for
Go
it.
ahead.
Want me to talk
The
about
one we were talking about in the car
with the
with Megan.
oh yes.
Yeah.
So this has only happened once in our career. We were filming in New York City, and my phone rings at 5 a.m, which is never a good thing. And it's a 7 a.m. crew call, and I got a call that the talent is sick and not going to be able to make it to work. And this is a massive day that has been planned. It's outside. It has an enormous amount of background. It has everything. And now at 5 a.m, we have to pivot and figure out what are we going to film today. And because we can't lose the entire day. So you get as many people on the phone as you can at that hour. You start waking everybody up. I got the first call on that day, which is not a normal thing. Usually the assistant director or maybe the line producer or the production manager would have been tipped off. But it came to me first that they were sick. And then you just roll real, like any way you can, and you start to figure out, okay, we have sets. Where can we go? Where can we move the entire company to salvage any part of this day? Because everyone is on the clock people are already on the clock. A 7 a.m. crew call, at 5 a.m. the trucks are already on the move, everyone's already starting. So hair and makeup, everyone is already working, transpo. So we did lose half of the day to lunch. Like the first half of the day was completely scrapped because you couldn't go to location. So we did have all the trucks, everything was on location. So we had to move everything to stage. Luckily we had a set that was built and sitting on stage that we owed a couple of pieces to. So there were other actors in town. You get them on the phone. You're like, all right, I know nobody knew we were filming this today. Sorry, but we're going to film after lunch for 5 or 6 hours and try to salvage anything you can in the day. But that was a very tough one for us because that was a big day that was planned with that a lot went into that we had to figure out. And then the hard part is you still have to film that day. So you're like, that you missed, right? So then you have to go back and be like, all right, so now how are we going to get all the permits and everything we need to do again to do it? But, that was a very challenging day for us.
Simon,
Kelly?
You said that what producers do is kind of amorphous. That is an example that every producer's gone through, some version of that, where you have to change the game plan, and it's going to cost hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars, and you have to do it on the fly.
Yeah.
And it's not fun, and it usually doesn't end up well.
No, and we're in New York. The studio is in Los Angeles, so they're 3 hours behind us. So they don't even know yet because it's 2 a.m. when that first call comes in. So you're waiting for them to wake up. You send your messages like, all right, just letting you know, I know what the call sheet says, but we're not doing that today, and we're going to pivot and try to figure this out. So you're kind of really running, even without them knowing, in that moment, just to try to save the day.
Yeah, it's funny. How do I put this? I've made 3 movies with Bryan Singer. I have made a movie with Brett Ratner. I have made a movie with Josh. I've been through some. Are we shooting today's? Is everybody here that needs to be here to film this scene in this movie? So yeah, a lot of pivoting. I guess I hadn't thought about this in advance. On X-Men 3, speaking of Brett Ratner, the whole third act of the movie, if you haven't seen it, and if you haven't seen it, it's okay. It's one you could probably skip it. But at any rate, if you haven't or you have, the third act of the movie is nighttime, outdoors, a huge battle sequence that we shot nighttime outdoors. And on the first night in Vancouver that we shot it, it rained. So we were like, we have 2 choices right now. We can either wait until the rain passes, we can build some sort of tarp or tent above it, which would have been really complicated back then, given the scale of how big this space was, or we can now commit to this taking place in the rain, which we did. But it was 6 weeks of shooting nights in now rain towers, creating rain when there wasn't rain. So the actors, all of them who are in that sequence, all of them are pretty much were movie stars, are movie stars. And the filmmakers who are moving in and out of there are just getting rained on for a month and a half straight at night.
And the rain is not warm, as I've
No.
experienced.
You don't
It's
heat the water.
freezing.
Yeah.
You don't heat that water.
Yeah, so that's a solution, but and it's kind of cool in the movie because rain is visually exciting, but not to shoot in.
And Steve, earlier you asked how everything has changed, right? And when Simon brought this story up, it made me think of something. So 20 years ago, if we were filming dialogue scenes, we were always on a process trailer. You'd put a car on a trailer and you would tow it around wherever you wanted to film, in any city or place you were. And there was a time we were filming, and we don't do that anymore, the LED backgrounds, everything's amazing, and you can do it on a stage, these dialogue scenes, and it looks like everybody's moving. But 15 years ago, we were doing a movie in Santa Fe, New Mexico, and we were out on a process trailer rolling through the mountains, and out of nowhere, a lightning storm came in. And that is a moving lightning rod. And literally, it was one of those moments where you had to get everybody off of the process trailer because the lightning just came in, and shut down for 3-4 hours. But today, I can't tell you the last time I saw a process trailer on a movie.
I actually have to say something, though. I do not like it when people are filming driving scenes, even in front of the LED. I can see that it's an LED.
Agreed.
It doesn't look good, and
Agreed.
it takes me out of the sequence because I don't believe they are driving, and I know they're on a sound stage, and I'd like to think a lot of people agree with me.
Is that true?
Can everyone tell?
You can tell.
The lighting just isn't like the background, whatever they're showing, the lighting just doesn't work, and you can see that it is fake. Every once in a while, they do it like at night or something, and I'm like, oh, are they driving?
Right.
Every once in a while, if the lighting is perfect, it works. But you need to have a cinematographer that can do it.
Yeah.
Listen, it's a challenge, and it gets better every year. It does. I mean, years ago, of course, it wasn't as good as it is today, but the amount of time it does take to go on the process trailer and roll around on it, and the setup and everything, you understand why. And how much easier it is to go on a sound stage and film your scenes.
Listen, totally get it. I understand the business behind it. I just think that the lighting just needs to, there's just a 10%, 5% more, and it makes it believable. But anyway, so one of the things that I did for this panel was, because they've produced so many things, I'm like, we should show clips from some of your movies and then have you talk about it. So we have some clips, and they're going to talk about it. The first one is something from Days of Future Past involving Quicksilver, and Simon will talk about it. So let's watch this first clip.
That's awesome. That's a great scene.
I've watched that scene so many, especially for this
so
panel, so many times, and it never gets old. So Simon, why did you pick this scene?
I haven't seen it in a long time. I picked it because I think part of producing is, and Brad was saying this before, like it is, or we're all saying this, it's marshaling so many different pieces and people who were involved in making the movie. And I think a lot of the time people imagine that producing either is putting up the money or is dealing with just the studio or the filmmaker or the movie stars or actors. And I picked that sequence because almost none of it was shot by the first unit. And so when you're making a big movie or a movie with an action sequence, or most movies, I would say now, you have the first unit, which is the main director, who's the director that we all see, and then you have a second unit, who is another director. And that unit is a different director, a different cinematographer, a different, smaller crew that is responsible for everything from tiny little insert shots of somebody's hand on a doorknob if you didn't get that hand shot, to massive action sequence pieces that the main unit doesn't have the time for, and also maybe doesn't have the expertise in shooting. A lot of the time we make movies with action and visual effects. It's the second unit has more specialty in shooting action and choreographing action. That sequence in the script, which I wrote, it said, the guards fire, Quicksilver slows time enough to move the bullets out of the way, and then time snaps back. That's what it said in the script. So there are so many steps and stages along the way that built that sequence, from beginning with what's called the previs. And there is a group of artists who are like animators, and they create what is like a cartoon version of the sequence. And a lot of the time, if you get a good previs team or previs artist, they will come up with their own ideas. They'll add to the sequence. And you can work with them as a producer or as a director, but as a producer, you can be the go-between, and you can give them the freedom to experiment. Our previs team came up with the idea of him running in a circle. Our previs team actually came up with the idea for that song, which they put on the animated previs. And from there, Bryan Singer had some amazing ideas about, he got inspired by the previs. He said Quicksilver should run along the wall. Our second unit director, Brian Smurs, came up with the idea that he should start to mess with the guards as he's running around them. And it was a sequence that I think first unit, meaning Bryan Singer and the primary actors, we maybe shot for like a day and a half. And second unit with Evan Peters, the Quicksilver actor, and the guards, shot for about a week and a half. And so I think as producers, I brought it up only because I think so many people look at it as like, oh, the writer wrote it, the director directed it. And the truth is, I wrote almost nothing. Brian directed a day of it. And then there were whole teams of people that if you really enable them as a producer to be creative, not just to execute, but to also ideate, they can end up helping you create something as memorable as that.
Unsung heroes.
Yeah.
I love that the song was on the previs.
Yeah.
Because I love when they do that.
Yeah. So great.
That's amazing.
So the next clip is for Andrew, for the guys, and it's something from Anaconda. That's another great sequence. So guys, why did you pick it?
Well, we picked it for a couple of reasons. The first thing we want to talk about, we know it was the first thing that the writers had written in the movie. Like when they were breaking ideas and we were this reimagining of Anaconda, they had come up with this set piece, and we're always talking about set pieces. What are the set pieces going to be? And the studio wants to know what the set pieces are going to be. So we always had this idea early on in development
from the
of
beginning.
Jack being chased by this snake.
With a boar on his back.
With the boar. And then, like Simon was saying, then you start to build the sequence out. And we hired a company to build that boar. So that literally, that you saw that boar on set, it really did look real. Like it was pretty crazy. And it was heavy. And it was heavy. And each day Jack had to they put all the gel on him and they tied that boar to him. And, you know, Steve did put half a squirrel into his mouth. Half of it is CG and the back half is real. But we did that many times. But it really was one of those sequences that was anchoring the movie. And we always knew we had it. We knew when we were going to film it. And it was the thing we had been talking about and preparing for from really day one on the movie, knowing it was going to be like probably the big set piece in this film.
And it was an important scene for us because Drew and I had never made a comedy before. And so tonally, we always felt...
We've tried not to make comedies, and
we haven't intentionally made comedies,
Exactly.
let's say that. But tonally, this scene captured what we wanted the movie to be, right? And it was not an easy scene to film. It was probably 90 degrees, 95 degrees. Jack had to run with that thing on his back full speed.
Yeah, it was summer in Australia. It was really hot. And,
it was tricky.
Yeah.
It was tricky. And I think one of the other reason we wanted to show it is we felt like it came out the way that it read in the script. It was a good, we were proud of the way that was executed.
And what nobody does see, which is always interesting when you're on set, is the two guys chasing Jack with a big blue snakehead.
Right.
Which are running right behind him with this massive snakehead, which, everyone has to take that seriously while that's happening.
How long did actually something like that take to film?
It was filmed over a number of days, shooting one direction and then turning around and shooting the other way. But I think that was like 3-4 days.
Yeah, because it was hard on Jack. It was really hard, so we didn't want to put.
And there's even a moment where Jack, which the visual effects team did an amazing job, where he is running. Well, you actually cut it off early, so nobody saw it. But those big close-ups at the end when he's running, there was a way we did some of that.
There's more to that scene, but we have a lot to show, and yes, I cut about 30 seconds out. That's on me.
Oh, listen. Happy we showed it.
Yeah. So the next clip, if you're not aware, Simon produced something called Deadpool, and so we have a clip from Deadpool. There we go.
There we go.
It is possible that I effed up and chose the wrong clip.
No, it's actually great. I can talk about that. It might be better. So actually, Deadpool, of any movie I've worked on as a producer, is probably the one that I'm proudest of, just because it seems like an obvious movie to make, but at the time it was really, really hard to get made. It took, I wasn't involved in all of this, so it took Ryan Reynolds, Tim Miller, the director, Rhett Reese and Paul Wernick, the writers, were on that movie for about 8 years, trying to get Fox to make it. I came on for the last maybe 4 years. So it was like a 11, 12-year odyssey to get that movie made. Ryan really wanted to make it going back to the Wolverine movie that he was in, where he played Deadpool in a very different way. So anyway, just a quick story about Deadpool, I guess. They had a script. There weren't a lot of there were really only Blade was the only R-rated superhero movie or comic book movie. And Fox had a good thing going with the X-Men movies, and they felt like an R-rated, dirty, weird, kind of bad Santa superhero movie might actually hurt the brand of X-Men, which is understandable. I wasn't involved in it, and I got an email from Rhett and Paul, the writers, and the email said, Deadpool, the title of the email was Deadpool Needs Your Ass. And then when I opened the body of the email, continued the word ass into assistance. And I got involved, and we went to the studio, and at the time the budget was like $70 million for what was scripted, and the studio basically said, you can make it for 50, which is what we made the first Deadpool for, $50 million. And what's interesting about that clip, one, obviously, that similar to what you guys were saying in terms of proof of concept to the studio, that was part of not literally, we reshot it, but that was part of a viral clip that somebody leaked onto the internet, and the fans really got so excited about the idea of a Deadpool movie that it helped convince the studio. But the way we got it down to $50 million, that sequence, if you remember, if you haven't seen it, or you probably have if you're at Comic-Con, that sequence is all on a bridge. It's the Deadpool drops down. He stops the convoy of cars. That turns into an action sequence in the cars. They spill out. Then there's an action sequence where he's trapped. Then there's an action sequence between him and Ajax. It's 3 different action sequences, or 3 different pieces of one action sequence, because we couldn't afford the normal amount of action sequences in a superhero movie. We took one action sequence, made the movie non-linear, and basically sprinkled one sequence into 3 different sections of the movie. So it feels like 3 action sequences, but it's really one. And it cost the same as one action sequence, but we got the cost benefit, whatever, of 3. And so that was actually a really tricky, great, and that's the writers, and Ryan, who really is a writer on those movies, and now is officially a writer. That was just a lot of ingenuity and took an immense amount of trust from the studio. And I think if we hadn't had the proof of concept video, and I hadn't been doing the X-Men movies for, I don't know, at that point, maybe 7 or 8 years, I still don't think they would have made Deadpool.
Yeah, I think a lot of people also forget that, and I could be wrong, but like they were hoping opening weekend was going to make 20 million, and you know, their hopes on that film were not what it turned into.
No, I mean, part of what we said was, and this was, you know, at the beginning of the conversation, DVDs still lived. We were like, this is a great DVD title. This is a movie that if people don't go see it in the theater, they'll want to go see it at home because it'll have like a cult following to it. It had a cult following, obviously. Rob Liefeld's comic has a cult following, or bigger than cult following, and we just promised them that we would make the 50 million back. We were like, we believe there's enough fans of the comic that it'll make $50 million, and it made a lot more than that.
What did it open to?
It's pretty nuts. It opened to $133 million.
Oh my God.
Just in America.
Wow.
What I will say, like, and this is not a flex, I'm still in awe of it. We knew by the time that it was coming out, you know, there's tracking, you know it's going to do well. We did better than we even anticipated. But Odyssey came out this weekend, as you all know, and they were like, it's the biggest opening weekend of an R-rated movie that's not a Deadpool movie.
That's
so
awesome.
It's the 4th biggest R-rated opening.
That's awesome.
Yeah, not to put myself in this, but we did a Collider screening of Deadpool.
Oh, dude.
I
remember.
it had come out on a Friday, and it was the week before, like the Wednesday night, where we did a screening, and this was before the press had seen it, and it was because again, I want to emphasize, the studio didn't know what they had, and because they would have never given us this movie back then, and it was Tim,
Me and Rob.
you and Rob, and we did this screening, and everyone in the theater was at IMAX headquarters. Everyone in the theater lost their effing minds, and I was like, "Oh, this is going to be huge."
Well, and then we'll stop talking about it. But actually, where we first were like, "Oh shit, this is going to be huge," was at Comic-Con, because the year before it came out, Fox did this like, "Here's all of our razzle dazzle movie, Hall H." thing, and it was Deadpool, Apocalypse, Fantastic Four, and Gambit, and everybody was there. It was everybody who'd ever been in the X-Men movies. It was a big, like, sort of the biggest flex that Fox Marvel ever did, and by far and away, the whole day was stolen by Deadpool.
That's great.
They showed the trailer for Deadpool, or a clip from Deadpool, and people went fucking crazy, and Deadpool was first because it was the smallest of the movies. And then the rest of the panels, everybody was like, show the Deadpool trailer again. So we did.
Nice.
Speaking of Ryan Reynolds, the next clip is from Amityville, and let's roll it.
It's a rad sequence.
So, why did you pick that sequence?
That was Chloe Moretz at age 6. Yeah. We put her up there. And she was.
This was also a lower budget movie. This was always going to be. This was in the script. This was always going to be a very challenging sequence to achieve because we didn't have the money to do it the way you would if you had lots of money to make the movie. So then all the conversations started happening. Like, can she go up on the roof? And all those shots are her up on the roof. Wow. And
Can you explain how you did that with her on the roof?
I was with her parents, and Drew was with Chloe. You know, it was like I was holding her mother's hand the whole time. Now, we had people, she was on a wire.
She was wired. There was
But-
pitch points everywhere, and she was cabled up there. But you know, when she's doing all that stuff, that's her walking along that roof, which is about 40 feet up. And the funny thing is, Brad and I were talking about this morning. You talk about technology. You know, if you film that scene today, you probably would just use a drone. And we needed to get a crane up there with her. Yeah. And there was a crane that we used to use called the Aquila, which was the tallest crane back then. And we had this massive 80, 90-foot crane to get up there so you could get close-ups of her and you could really show the scale. Because you really wanted to show the scale, especially when she's on the edge of when her feet go to the edge and you see the lake and everything, you realize she's really up there. Because there's no green screens. Now, the one thing we did build, we built a little piece of the roof that Melissa George, the mother, is climbing up, like that was in a parking lot. But everything with Chloe was up on that little beam on the real roof of that.
And you got to give Chloe credit. She just was game for it at age. I mean, we're nuts putting a 6-year-old up on the roof. I wouldn't do that today, but she was up for it. Her parents were distracted, and we got this.
It's so funny because we talked earlier about what's changed in the industry. Yeah, 6-year-old on the roof of a building,
Yeah.
40 feet up.
Yeah,
Crazy.
exactly.
And we wanted to go back-to-back Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah,
why not?
exactly.
Yeah, so.
It's interesting because I think what you said about the movie being a lower budget movie, I think the only way you could do that today would be on a low budget independent movie.
Right.
You couldn't do it on a studio movie.
No way.
But I would suspect there are some independent movies that were at Cannes or in the world where they put children on rooftops and other. I mean, it's an amazing. I haven't seen that movie since it came out. It's a sick sequence. It's awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah, Andrew
I just
Douglas did a great job.
leaned over to Drew and I was like, "Who directed that movie?" It's really, really
And,
well done.
and there's a chance where it doesn't happen.
Right.
Like you take her up in the basket and you cable her up, and maybe she's like, no. And then that would be that early question we had: what would we have done? But she was up for it, and just a couple of takes and get everybody down.
The next clip is something called The Martian.
Oh, boy.
Simon, why did we pick this clip?
Not the most exciting clip from the movie. I picked it because it's a reshoot. And I think that one of the things I would say is a slight misconception is that reshoots mean that a movie's in trouble or it's not good. And sometimes that's true. And sometimes movies that don't have reshoots are in trouble and not good. But I do think that if you have the luxury of having time to reshoot, and I think that luxury is probably true for the cheapest movies and the most expensive movies, because it's cheap to reshoot if it's a cheap, crew and cast to get together. I brought it up because at the original ending of the movie, as shot and tested, didn't have that speech in it. Matt sees a little leaf on the ground and gets up and heads to class, and the audience felt like they needed closure with the character, and I think maybe needed to sort of get a sense of why they had been on this journey. It's an exciting enough movie, obviously, and there's so many wonderful things about it, but like, what's the larger lesson? But that ending was, I brought it up. It's not exciting. It's not like, but it is. It's the right ending for the movie. The movie tested significantly better with just that ending in it.
The next clip, we have 2 clips left, and the next one is from A Quiet Place.
Well, obviously, Drew and I love putting kids in peril. I guess that's what we've learned from
What a
today's
theme.
panel.
100%. So what was it about this clip that said, let's show it?
Well, I think that something that we talked about in Anaconda, it's about setting tone, and I think that is the most that scene sets the tone for the movie. It does a number of things. It shows that anyone can die. It gives you a way to perceive Millie's inability to hear, sonically, that we changed the sound for that, and I think it just made the audience uneasy from that's the first basic scene in the movie. It makes them uneasy, and so even though you're going to go on this journey with this family, no one's safe. And I think that was a really important message to know in that to go into that movie.
Oh, no, it definitely screws you up.
Yeah,
Right
good.
at the beginning.
Good, thank you. Yeah.
Is there anything you wanted to add?
No, no, that's it.
What was it like? I've done it a couple times with Ken Branagh, who's just like such a pro and made so many movies. What was it? Was that the first time Krasinski directed a movie?
No, he directed 2 movies before us. He directed a movie called The Haulers, which was kind of
right before.
which was like a comedic drama that didn't speak to it, to what he could do with our movie. And what was the first movie? Interviews with Hideous Men, I think.
Yeah,
was
Brief
something.
Interviews with Hideous Men.
Yeah, and so there was nothing about John's filmography that indicated he could do anything in A Quiet Place.
Yeah.
He just, when you met with him, when he pitched that movie, Drew and I just felt like this is the guy. He gets it, and he always had command of what that movie was going to be.
I know you guys can't talk about it, but for people that aren't aware, I believe you're filming A Quiet Place
We
right
are.
now.
We are filming A Quiet Place Part 3.
Right now.
Yes.
Awesome. But we wanted to be here today.
I won't pressure you to talk about it, except to say, what do you want to say? No, I'm joking. We can move on. We have one more clip, and it's also from Days of Future Past. So, Simon, why'd you pick this scene?
I think there's an interesting, overall running thing of you're always selling the movie. Like you can pitch an original idea, you can pitch a sequel, but you're always selling the movie in the sense of that scene was very much like what you guys were saying with Anaconda. It was conceived from the very beginning. It was what we thought would be the centerpiece of that movie. It was the most expensive X-Men movie we had shot at that time. It's still the most expensive X-Men movie. And it was the idea of it and the words, the scene, although it changed, is what we pitched the studio to get them to greenlight the movie at a certain budget. And so I brought it up just because it's like you think, oh, you're just making another Quiet Place. Oh, you're just making another X-Men movie. Those movies make money. That's easy. You just go in and give them and say, we have a script, let's shoot. And the answer is that you don't get to do that.
Correct.
And you are always singing for your supper as a producer, and that is your role. And part of your role is figuring out what it is about a movie that makes it valuable. And there's so many different, like that scene is obviously not as exciting as the Quicksilver scene. It's not as exciting as so many things in that movie, visually and action-wise, but emotionally and as like an event, it ended up being the final moment of the first trailer, and was really the centerpiece of the marketing campaign. And it was the only time in the entire movie, other than Hugh Jackman, obviously, who goes back and forth between the two time periods, that the two casts interact. And so that was the promise of the concept of a movie, and that's what you got to do all the time. It's just you're always pitching, you're always selling at every step and every phase of a career.
And now it's time for some more questions. You have each had films that exceeded expectations. Can you identify the moment during production when you realized something special might be happening?
No. You don't know. You don't know until
That's
you
a good
watch
answer.
your movie in front of the audience, because you think you know. And so many times for doing this, we've been doing this for, 25 years now.
Yeah.
So many times you think you're right, and you're just not. You just don't know until an audience responds. I've never had the feeling, oh, this is going to be great. I just know this movie's going to open. Never have that thought.
Yeah.
You hope, but I don't have that confidence.
That's a great answer. That's the right answer.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, that's the right answer, because I think my answer is only I've been wrong.
Right.
Like I've been on movies where it's like the second day of photography and the movie star emailed me like, smell the roses. Like this is the greatest, we're making the greatest movie of all time, and it was not. And I won't name it, but it was not. It was not one of the things I picked to put clips up. So, and I think you're right. I think, and I've had movies like some of the movies that I've shown here, or at least one of them, that have tested really poorly with an audience, and then you go and you do the work. Like Matt was saying in Martian, you got to keep doing the work, and the work just keeps going and going. And I think, like you were asking about Deadpool, We didn't know what we had, and it tested really well, but we were like, it's fucking weird. And Ryan was not a hot movie star at the time. He was coming off of a few movies in a row that had not performed, and it was different at a time when being different was not great. I think right now different is great. And it went on tracking, and we were like, oh, that looks really, really good. But maybe they're not going to come, and you just don't know.
Go ahead. Drew's got a story.
I mean, it really is a quiet place for us on not knowing. The first time we had previewed that movie, it was very early in the process of post, and none of the visual effects were done. So the creatures were not in the movie. So the first audience that saw that film, you know, I mean, this story is out into the world, but, you know, John Krasinski was playing that main creature when we filmed the movie. So he is standing across from Emily Blunt, like standing there like a creature. So when you watch the movie and you're cutting between them, you're cutting to him. And he's wearing his mocap suit and everything. So no one had really seen the film as an audience with the visual effects done. So we had submitted the movie for South by Southwest to screen it there for the first time. And they even had watched it without the visual effects. But, you know, God bless, they saw what the movie could be, with knowing the visual effects were coming. And when we screened the movie for the first time in Texas, which was basically a finished movie, we were in the final mix at that moment, most of the visual effects were in, that is when we witnessed how an audience reacted to A Quiet Place. And, you know, Brad talks about the sound, and, you know, we had been mixing the movie and playing with Millie's sound. And it was in that screening at the Paramount Theater in Austin where, for me, it was the first time I had really heard the straws in the cup stop moving and the popcorn stop being eaten and the theater going silent. And they watched the entire movie. I can't remember where the moment was, but for at least an hour where nobody made a noise. And they just were with this family watching this movie. But again, you don't know. And we didn't know until we put it up in front of 1,000 people. And you sit there and you sweat through your shirts and you have no idea what's coming. And sometimes, you know, the outcome is amazing. Sometimes it's not.
A huge part of producing is managing personalities. How do you handle a situation where a brilliant director or star wants to take a movie in a direction that you, as the producer, know is a mistake?
I see myself as a steward for the audience. Like, I don't think that my taste is smarter than anyone else's. I just know the kind of movies I like. And when you go into it, you advocate for what you think the audience is looking for.
I mean, you also hope these conversations are happening before you film.
Yeah, not
So
when you're
you can
shooting.
have these early in the process during pre-production, and it doesn't happen on the day when you're actually filming and somebody wants to take the film left and everybody else wants to go right. So you try to really...
There, you're back.
And we're back
You're
up. And you hope you can have the conversations early enough where everyone is heard and we all do step forward making the same movie.
Yeah, I think a big part of being a producer is being a therapist. And I think you have to be able to manage different kinds of personalities, and you have to make them feel like probably therapists do, that they reach their own destination themselves, even though you were steering them there.
What do you learn about an actor during a meeting that you cannot learn from watching their work?
I think there's two totally different things. I can learn from their work, their ability and their talent. And I never see some of that in a meeting necessarily, but like somewhat boring story, but when Drew and I started Platinum Dunes in 2000 or 2001, we took a general meeting with Jessica Biel, and we fell in love with her in the general meeting. She was so fun and so great that we had tickets to a Laker game that night, and we took her to the Laker game. We just loved being with her. And when the script came in, because of how much we enjoyed spending our time with her, we said to the studio, we are making this movie with Jessica Biel. She is perfect to play this role. So the meeting didn't speak to her talent, but it spoke to the fact that we were going to be spending 10 weeks or 8 weeks in Austin, Texas on a grueling shoot, and who do we want to do it with? So the talent is there, God willing, and then if you can have a great time with the people, that's the bonus.
Yeah, I think like I don't think you can really learn much from a meeting. I'm sure you guys do this, and this is common sense. But you call as many people as you can who have worked with that actor before. For sure. And you say, what was it like working with them? And then you'll get the reality of what it is to be on a set with them versus to be at dinner with them.
Right.
Sure. Have you guys had made that phone call, heard something, and said, yeah, we're not casting them?
All the time.
100%.
Very
100%.
often. Yeah.
By the way, I also receive that phone call sometimes, and I'm like, life's too short.
Yeah.
Not naming names.
Yeah, I was going to say a name, and I realized I shouldn't say a word. So what's the closest? I'm sorry, I really cannot say that on stage. What is the closest one of your movies came to falling apart during production?
During production?
During production. Did we have one that almost fell apart during production?
No, we've had one almost make it to production and not make it.
That's also a good story.
We've had one of those.
That's the heartbreak. You want to bring it up?
It is one of those. There are moments like we were talking about moving the ball down the field and starting with a script or an idea, and then a filmmaker, and then cast, and then lucky enough to get it to greenlight, and then okay, let's go location scout and let's find a place to make this movie. Everyone's on board, and there was what year was this?
I don't know. Probably 11 or 12.
Yeah, no, it was after that, but in the teens, or I don't know. We were about 4 weeks from making a new Friday the 13th.
Oh, wow.
And we had found Camp Crystal Lake, and everything was up and running, and the filmmaker was we were outside of Atlanta, and we were casting, and everyone was on the show. And that one, the plug got pulled, and everybody came home. But that was, again, when you get to that point as a producer, the last thing on your mind is that the movie's not going to happen. Like, it's happening. We're here. And we had never seen that before, and then the call did come in. Like, we're not going to move forward with this. And you start to, I remember talking to Brad, I'm like, but we're here, and we have the location, and, like, we're going. He's like, no, we're not going. We're going home. That's where we're going.
For people that don't realize, what was that film going to be about?
That was going back to the earlier days of Jason at Camp Crystal Lake.
Was it going to be like super hard R or?
Oh, yeah, hard R.
Steve, super hard R.
Right to the
Yes,
to the limit.
you would have
Yeah.
loved
Wow.
it. But yes, those are tough phone calls to get. By the way, tough for them to make.
Yeah.
And tough for us to receive, because we get the call first, and then you have to start talking to everyone else involved.
And to this day, I don't think that Drew and I know exactly why they pulled the plug. They just pulled it.
They just did, and you pack it all up. And then you come home, and then that one will never be seen.
This is a longer question. Simon, you've shepherded the X-Men and Deadpool franchises, which come with decades of rigid comic book scripture and massive studio guardrails. Brad and Andrew, you started with reboots, Friday the 13th and Nightmare on Elm Street, but completely changed the game with original ideas like The Purge and A Quiet Place. Which is harder to protect and pitch, a legacy IP with millions of expectant fans, or a completely blank canvas where you have to invent the rules of the world from scratch?
Well, for us, it was very simple to remake. I mean, it was easier to get those remakes going. That was, that you had the title, you had the built-in value.
Well, it was also a time when everyone was really looking for IP. Not that they're not now, but it's like Simon was saying earlier. And then I'm sorry, Brad. You're always selling. You are. And when you did, at least in those lower budget movies, the IP was helping us sell from the start. The originals were always a challenge to get made. Now, The Purge, which, was made for $2.5 million. It's
crazy.
The first one, that was a very low budget movie that we made with Jason Blum. But,
But it's, we listened to the fans a lot, and we were getting our ass handed to us doing remake after remake. It really affected us. Like, I felt like the movies were not getting the credit that some of them deserved. Not all of them were great, but I thought that, especially our Friday the 13th, I loved. And so we kept hearing from the fans, all you guys do is remake movies, and that forced us to look elsewhere for other places to make movies, and really opened up a chapter for us, because The Purge and Quiet Place happened fairly quick in the same time zone for us. And
How'd you guys get to The Purge? Or how'd it get to you?
it's Paranormal Activity came out, and our phone stopped ringing. We had made Nightmare on Elm Street, and that was our most successful movie financially to date, but no one was calling us because Blum made Paranormal for $3. And we were spending real money on our movies, and no one called us. And Drew and I would sit and look at each other all day, and nothing was happening.
Staring at the phone.
No, the phone didn't ring for a year. And just out of the blue, I just wrote Jason Blum an email, and I said, "You've stolen our career. The least you can do is buy me a cup of coffee."
Wow.
I didn't know him.
This is an awesome story.
And he wrote me right back. He said, "I'll meet you tomorrow." And we went to 20th Century Fox and met him in the commissary there. And he said, "You know what? I'm glad we're sitting down. I'm doing this new movie called Insidious. We have this idea called The Purge, and why don't we partner, and you guys will make The Purge, and I'll make Insidious," and off we went. And that was kind of how it happened. We shot The Purge in 18 days, as Drew said, for $2.5 million.
Wow. That's a fantastic story.
Yeah. Sometimes you got to write that email.
Yeah.
So.
The question was, IP is easier to pitch, to get made, for sure, without question. Even if the IP is not, Martian's a good example. That was an unpublished manuscript. It was actually, Andy was publishing chapters, self-publishing chapters on Amazon, but it was still existed as a piece of material. And that helped me get the studio to buy it. And then by the time, the book became a bestseller after we had shot the film. So, any kind of IP helps.
Have you ever fought against a creative choice and later admitted the filmmaker was right?
I'm sure we have.
Yeah,
a
for
million
sure.
times. But I'm trying to think of an example.
Yeah, I don't have an example, but I'm sure we have.
Yeah,
And
it
we've
happens
lost
all the
for
time.
sure.
And we lose.
Yeah.
We've lost a lot. We've lost a lot of battles.
Yeah.
But those scars are what give you the confidence to say to Ridley Scott, "I think I need to do this scene with Matt Damon."
Yeah, and you also have to let them experiment. Like I didn't produce this movie, but I wrote Mr. and Mrs. Smith, and the original script and what was shot. Brad and Angelina's characters have bosses, and they're a significant part of the movie. We shot it with Jacqueline Bisset and Terrence Stamp. We tested it. Movie didn't test well. We recast those parts and shot it again with Angela Bassett and Keith David. Tested it again, tested slightly better, and then one weekend, Doug Lyman, the director, went into the edit and just pulled all of the boss's scenes out of the movie, and I was so hypothetically opposed to that, and then I watched the movie, and though it was kind of a mess, it was the right movie because you just want to be with Brad and Angie, and so that was one where it was like, in the abstract, I hate it. In the execution, oh fuck, you solved it.
All right. Cool.
What's the strangest item you have ever seen included in a movie's budget?
It's all going to be in perks of movie stars. There's no question that for me, it's all perks of movie stars, and it's like just the amount of, sometimes, not all of them, but the amount of millions of dollars beyond and separate from their paycheck is always astonishing to me, and all of the different people that they need to just breathe air.
Yeah.
We used to have a category for blood when we were, just blood, because we always needed lots of blood in our movies. Yeah. So it's not a usual line item.
Yeah, that's cool.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Which of your films generated the strangest studio note?
My God.
Wow. That's a hard one.
I have other questions if you want to move on.
Yeah, let's move on. I don't know.
No problem.
Yeah.
Which director that you have worked with arrives the most prepared, and who thrives most successfully in chaos?
That's an easy one for me. If you want, I can just. That is Ridley. He was when we filmed that movie. It's not even close. And I've worked with a lot of really good directors. Ken Branagh's great. Really, Jim Mangold. There's some people who are awesome. Ridley shows up at crew call every day, which is about an hour or two before actually some directors show up. He we shot French hours on Martian, which means you don't break for lunch. He never left the set the entire day, except maybe to go to the bathroom, and I never even saw that happen. And then we would wrap, and he would always wrap on time, because you kind of have to, and then he would have huge dinners with the cast, and then he would go out drinking afterwards, and he would seemingly sleep for 5 hours, and he's 80 years old when we were making that movie, and he just, like, his durability was above and beyond anybody on that film that was half his age.
Wow.
What do you got, Drew?
I can't top that.
It's supernatural.
Yeah.
Who gives the longest notes? Actors, directors, studio executives, or other producers?
Studio executives, for sure.
100%.
Pages and pages and pages of notes.
Yep.
So the thing that I've heard from a number of people is that sometimes studio notes are actually constructive and informative, and other times it's sort of like someone justifying their job.
Both have occurred a lot, a lot. But I just finished making a movie for Apple, and their notes were so good, so solid, very directed, 2 pages, and it was a great experience.
Wait, which movie?
It's called Sponsor.
I don't actually know if I know this.
Jason Segel and John C. Reilly. We just finished it.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Okay. And also, because we're almost out of time, Simon, you have a film that I think you just did for Netflix. What do you want to tell people? Here comes.
For the time being, it's called Here Comes the Flood. And it's an original script I wrote. I was just telling these guys backstage, it's the first time I've written, I don't know now, maybe 15 movies, something like that, 20 movies. And it's the first time an original script. I've had an original script made since Mr. and Mrs. Smith, which was 25 years ago. So it was made 25 years ago. So it stars Denzel Washington and Rob Pattinson of Get These Beggars Out of Here fame, if you've seen that meme, and Daisy Edgar-Jones. And it was directed by Fernando Meirelles, who directed City of God. And it's a kind of unconventional heist movie. And it was pretty fucking cool working with Denzel Washington. I wrote it with Denzel in my head, and then he read it and said yes to doing it, and it was probably the most surreal and awesome experience I've had watching an actor work.
Yeah, the other thing about Denzel is he's offered every script under the sun, and, you know, for him to say yes says that the script must have been pretty good.
I appreciate that. That said, he will show up to work, and you're like, did you read the script? Because he's so creative. I mean, he has read the script, and he knows every line, which is also crazy at whatever his age is now. But he is so creative and imaginative, a little bit like, I don't know if this was your guys' experience with Ryan, different kind of movie, Reynolds, but Ryan Reynolds is just improv crazy. And Denzel's a real, and I've worked with Downey, who improvs a lot. Like, Denzel improvises a ton, and he's kind of just experimenting and working like a fluid artist in every single take. He's coming up with a new idea. So that was part of the fun, is he did obviously like the script because he said yes, but he comes with tons of ideas. He's not just there to like do a play.
On that note, I need to wrap up this panel, so I will just say a huge thank you to all of you guys for coming out today.
Thank you.
And a huge thank you to Simon Kinberg, Andrew Forum, and Brad Fuller. Thank you guys so much. You guys have a great day.